let's move to a completely different issue, the crazier recesses of the trans agenda. A well-known trans woman, Blair White, we've had her on this station before. She said once, a transgender 3-year-old is like a vegan cat. We all know who's making the lifestyle choices, and keep that in mind whilst you watch this.
To your face, Ty.
Makeup.
You put makeup on it?
Mm-hmm.
How old are you?
7.
No. How old are you?
7.
You're 4.
No, it's 7.
Are you a boy or a girl?
A girl.
A girl?
Mm-hmm.
Were you born a girl?
Hmm?
Were you born a girl?
Yes.
When you were a baby, were you a girl?
Yes.
Are you in a boy's body, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Parnell, here we have a 4-year-old boy that identifies as a 7-year-old girl. The mum is quick to correct the child's age, but she seems very content to allow the child, perhaps even encourage the child to identify as a girl. What's happening here?
Well, isn't it funny? I've always thought when my son was little, I always thought there's something very Orwellian about children. They're always very happy to declare black, white and basically torture you through crying and tantrums until you agree with them. So I think, you know, anything said by a child that age should be taken with kindness, and you just let some things slide and you correct some things. And, you know, it's not always important. My son couldn't tell girl or boy, male or female pronouns or anything at that age. So I think it's pretty unimportant, a child declaring themselves another gender, or for that matter, another being at that age. At that age, my son's goal in life was to grow up to be a baby turtle. So, you know, I just... Fortunately, we didn't have the surgery at the time, so he's fine now.
How dare you?
But that's right. We should have affirmed. So, look, I think, of course, you know, it's you have to be gentle. There are people who genuinely suffer from gender dysphoria, and they do from quite a young age. And of course, you never want to trample on somebody's feelings when, especially, they have a very dislocated feeling in their own body. But you also, with children, of course, give them some guidance and teach them what is a girl's body, what's a boy's body. We refer to you as he. Yes, you might not figure that out for a while. My son didn't realise that his best friend was a girl for years. And, you know, you sort of just correct them gently over time while trying not to trigger any tantrums, ideally. So I think, you know, I wouldn't have been terribly upset with my son having a face full of makeup should that have been presented to me, and I wouldn't have been terribly surprised with him declaring himself 7 either. You know, this is something that children do.
I'm with you. But I don't think that should lead to...
That's right. The problem comes when we decide to affirm everything and decide to railroad them from a passing comment made at 4 years old into a life of whatever they've declared themselves to be, a baby turtle. You know.
Well, yeah, lifestyle choice. I think I wanted to be a dolphin or a mermaid when I was around that age. So your son and I would have got along, I think, the turtle and the dolphin. Now, Terry, I've got a more...
I was just going to say, we live in a world which 40-year-old girls can declare themselves experts on climate change and be held as the greatest guru on climate change forever after. So why not 4-year-old boys declaring themselves as 7-year-old girls? Everything seems to be up for grabs.
Well, why not? I don't know why people get into trouble when they fake being a particular race. Like we had a couple of cases of people getting roles under false pretenses. But, you know, if you can identify as anything, maybe you can identify as a different race as well. They were maybe ahead of their time. Now, I want to ask you about Australian business executive and the co-architect of Scott Morrison's so-called gas-led recovery, Andrew Liveris. He's preparing to lead a new push for a price on carbon. He recently entered discussions with Joe Biden's climate envoy, John Kerry, over how the world should implement carbon pricing regimes. Terry, what do you make of this development?
Well, it's not unexpected, Rita, because the reality of any push to demonise carbon and carbon, and particularly coal, obviously, but also gas, is to put a price on the so-called emissions that will emerge from carbon when you burn it. I think that in the case of Liveris, he's driven by a particular desire to promote gas over coal, because if you put a price on carbon, quote unquote, because gas emits less carbon dioxide when it's converted into whatever it's converted into, fuel or in the petrochemical cycle, it emits less carbon dioxide. So this would favour gas as opposed to coal. But the bottom line is that it would make both those sources of energy that much more expensive. And it's all, whether we do it by actually formally putting a price on carbon, quote unquote, which is supposed to be the market way to reduce dependence on carbon, on fossil fuels, or whether we do it by other means, the bottom line is we're going to make things more expensive and less available to consumers, both industry and individuals consumers.
And just quickly, Terry, do you think Scott Morrison has done a good enough job selling this U-turn to the Australian public and the people who would traditionally vote for the coalition? Has there really been a clear explanation of why he's changed his position so dramatically from the last election?
No, I think it's a disaster narrowly for him personally and politically, but it's a much bigger disaster for the country, because we end up with this morass where we're not headed in any real sensible direction, or even an irrational direction, but at least having some sense of how we're actually going to go down that pathway. And I think we're going to see the outcome pretty negatively when we get to the election in May.
Terry, though, this is why I would say a carbon price is a better outcome than no carbon price in this situation, because do you really want government making the decision to subsidise various businesses? I mean, if you're going to have a penalty on carbon, then I would much rather that penalty were regulated publicly through the market rather than
Parnell, I'm liking this point, but I've got to go to a break. Parnell, we're going to continue discussion next time. I'm going to remember precisely where we are. Parnell McGuinness, Terry McCrann. We'll pick it up next time around. Thank you for your time tonight.